Welcome to another video lesson in general mathematics. And in this video lesson, we will talk about solving rational inequalities. So, paano ba tayo magsasolve ng mga rational inequalities? So, here are some steps that will guide us in solving rational inequalities. 1. Write the inequality with a single rational expression in the left-hand side of the inequality and 0 on the right-hand side of the inequality. Second, we find the critical values by setting both the numerator and the denominator to be equal to 0. Third, we use the critical values obtained in step number 2 to separate the number line into intervals. Fourth, we select a test point and we substitute this test point to our inequality in order to check if it satisfies the inequality or not. And fifth, we express our answer in set notation. For our example number 1, find the solution set for the given inequality x minus 3 over x plus 2 is greater than or equal to 0. Now for our solution, we'll just follow the steps that I mentioned a while ago. So first, we write the inequality with a single rational expression on the left-hand side of the inequality and 0 on the right-hand side of the inequality. As you can see here in our given, the left-hand side is already a single rational expression and the right-hand side is already equal to 0. So meaning to say, there is no need for us to modify this one, or there's no need for us to perform step number 1. Now, we have here, find the critical values by setting both the numerator and denominator to be equal to 0. Now, for our numerator, we have here x minus 3. So ito yung numerator na nakikita natin, and in solving for x, we'll have x is equal to 3. And then for our denominator, we have here x plus 2. And then solving for x, you will obtain x equals negative 2. So these two values here, x equals 3 and x equals negative 2, are what we call the critical values for this given rational inequality. So for our next step, we use the critical values obtained in the previous step to separate the number line into intervals. So in our previous step, we obtained two critical values, so meaning to say we are going to separate our number line into 3 intervals. Now, the first critical value that we have is negative 2, and the second critical value is positive 3. So as you can see, meron tayong makikita ditong tatlong intervals. So this is our first interval, this one here is our second interval, and this one is our third interval. Now, for each interval, notice also that ang inequality sign na ating ginamit dito sa ating given ay greater than or equal, meaning to say one of those intervals or one of those values na na-obtain natin kanina sa ating previous step ay included. So, paano ba natin malalaman kung included yung value na yon? So, yung value na ma-obtain natin from our numerator, which is yung x minus 3, so nung sinolve natin kanina ito, ang ating critical value na nakuha dito ay yung x is equal to 3. So meaning to say, yung x equals 3 na yan, included yan, and we denote that one, okay, and we make use of this one, yung shaded natin na circle, to denote that this particular value is included. And then yung negative 2 naman natin, this is not included because once the value of x is negative 2, this will make our expression here undefined. So meaning to say, yung negative 2 natin dito, hindi siya kasama. So that is why we make use of this hollow circle. Now after nyan, once na-identify na natin kung saan dito ang ating mga included values at saan dito yung hindi, that is the time that we will identify our intervals. So the first interval that we have is x is less than negative 2. So meaning to say those values that are less than negative 2. So ito yung nasa left side ng ating negative 2. And then the second interval that we have is negative 2 is less than x, which is less than or equal to 3. So as you can see dito, ito yung mga values from negative 2 to positive 3. And then take note na yung ating positive 3 dito, ang ginamit natin ay yung x is less than or equal to positive 3. So, pansinin niyo na ito ay ginamitan natin ng or equal dito na kasama because this one here is a shaded circle. And then, para naman sa ating last na interval, we have here x is greater than or equal to positive 3 because these values here, yung nasa right side ni positive 3, so these are values that are greater than 3. Now, again, ang ginamit ulit natin dito ay yung inequality natin na greater than or equal. So, sinamahan natin yan ng or equal na yan because based on our notations here, included naman yung ating value ng x, which is yung 3. Now, after nyan, ang next natin ngayon na gagawin is we select the test points and substitute those values in the inequality. So ano ba itong mga test points na ito? Now, since we have here 3 intervals sa ating number line, so kukuha lang tayo dito ng mga numbers within the given interval na pwede nating i-substitute doon sa ating given inequality. So, in this case here, sa x is less than negative 2 dito sa ating first na interval, so we can select any values dito sa left side, yung negative 2. So in our case here, ang ginamit ko ay yung negative 3. But you can also use negative 4, negative 5, and other numbers which are less than negative 2. And then for our second interval, yung from negative 2 to positive 3, so ang ginamit ko naman dito ay yung 0. But then again, you can use other values na within the given interval. So pwede kang gumamit ng negative 1, pwede kang gumamit ng positive 1, pwede ka rin gumamit ng positive 2. And then yung nasa right side naman is 3. So you can use 4, 5, 6, and other numbers na mas mataas sa 3. So in my case here, yung ginamit ko ay yung positive 4. And then after nyan, once nakapag-identify na tayo ng ating mga test points, ang next natin na gagawin is we're going to substitute those test points in our expression. So meron tayo dito sa left side ng ating inequality na x minus 3 over x plus 2. So once we substitute that one, you can see ang result natin para sa x equals negative 3 is positive 6. And then sa atin namang second na value, which is yung 0, ang result natin dito ay negative 3 halves. At sa atin namang last dito na value, ang result natin ay 1 over 6. Now, after nyan, we decide kung alin sa mga values na ito yung ating isasama. At sa pagde-decide natin kung alin sa mga values na ito ang ating isasama, so ang titingnan lang natin uli ay yung given natin na inequality sign. So, ang given kanina ay greater than or equal to 0. So, pag sinabi nating greater than or equal to 0, meaning to say those numbers which are equal to 0 or mas mataas sa kanya o yung mga positive natin na numbers. So, in our case here, ang positive lang natin dito na result, we have here positive 6. So, meaning to say this will give us a true statement. Yung ating namang second dito is negative 3 halves, which is false kasi ang ating hinahanap ay mga values na greater than or equal to 0. But since we have here a negative value, so this is a false result. And for our third test point, ang nakuha nating result ay 1 over 6. So since ang 1 over 6 ay positive, then we also consider that one as value of x that will give us a true statement. So with that, ibig sabihin lang yan, yung intervals natin na pinagkuhanan natin ng mga test points na iyon, so ang test points lang na ating isasama dito ay yung negative 3 at saka yung positive 4. So, saan man ang galing na intervals yon? So, yung dalawang intervals na pinanggalingan nun ay itong x which is less than negative 2, and the other interval is x is greater than 3. Now, pag sinabi natin x is less than negative 2, so meaning to say that's from negative infinity to negative 2. Okay, so lahat ng mga values na nasa baba ni negative 2, that is why we have negative infinity to negative 2. And then para naman dito, sa ating right side, we have here x is greater than 3. So meaning to say that's from 3, so included yung ating value na 3 and then going to positive infinity. So paano ba natin siya isusulat? So there are two ways of writing that one. The first one is with the use of a set notation, and the second one is with the use of an interval notation. So our answer here, by the way, sa graph natin, pwede nating i-shade yung ating part na kina-consider natin as our solution set para alam natin kung saan natin kukuhanin yung intervals na yun. So as you can see, mas makapal na yung line doon. So dito siya define yung ating inequality na yan, including dito sa right side, yung x is greater than or equal to 3. So may solution set natin dito, kagaya ng sinabi ko kanina, that's from negative infinity to negative 2. And then we have here, we make use of this notation. So ito ay union, so meaning to say combination of all those values na ibinigay dito. So we have here 3 and then positive infinity. So again, we take note of our symbol na ginamit dito. Tingnan natin kung kailan natin gagamitin yung parenthesis at kailan natin gagamitin yung bracket. If you want to recall kung paano isulat yan, you may go back to our first video lesson, which is yung lesson natin on relations and functions. And then another way also of writing that one, we have x. Okay, we have here set of x such that x is less than -2 or x is greater than or equal to 3. So this is also another way of writing our solution set. So we call this one as our set notation, and the other one is our interval notation. So for our next example, let's find the solution set for the given inequality 2x plus 6 over x minus 5, which is greater than x plus 3 over x minus 1. Now, just like what I've mentioned kanina, we will just follow the 5 steps in solving a rational inequality. So yung una nating step doon, you write the inequality with a single rational expression on the left side and 0 on the right side. So, dito, since ang ating right side ay meron tayong another rational expression which is yung x plus 3 over x minus 1, itong part na ito, so we need to move this one to the left hand side para maging 0 na lang yung nasa right hand side natin. So, moving that one, we will have 2x plus 6 over x minus 5 minus x plus 3 over x minus 1 is greater than 0. And then after nyan, since ang sabi dito, dapat ay single rational expression lang yung nasa left hand side natin, but what we have here are two rational expressions. So, kailangan natin kuhanin yung LCD ng dalawang rational expressions na ito. Now, in finding the LCD of these two rational expressions, we will have x minus 5 and x minus 1. And so, performing the process of subtracting fractions with different denominators, yung kinuha natin yung LCD kanina, and then after that, we divide the LCD by the denominator of our first fraction and we multiply the result to our numerator. So in this case here, yung LCD natin na x minus 5 over x minus 1, when we divide this one by x minus 5, that will give us x minus 1. So yung x minus 1 na yun yung i-multiply natin kay 2x plus 6. And then, dito naman sa ating second na rational expression, ang ating denominator dito ay x minus 1. So once we divide our LCD by x minus 1, we will obtain x minus 5. So that is why ang numerator natin na x plus 3, ay minultiply natin siya ng x minus 5. And then right after that, we simplify this one. We follow the rules in multiplying functions and also subtracting functions. So pwede natin gamitin yung kagaya dun sa previous natin na video lesson. So, what we will have here will be x squared plus 6x plus 9. And then yung denominator natin is x minus 5 over x minus 1. Now, the reason kung bakit hindi ko minultiply yung ating denominator dito, kasi mamaya kukuhanin din naman natin yung mga factors niya in order to find the critical values. So, after that, that is the time na kukuha na tayo ng ating mga critical values. Sa pagkuha natin ng ating critical values, okay, kagaya nung nandun sa sinabi kanina, we will equate our numerator with 0 as well as our denominator. So since ang numerator na nakuha natin kanina is x squared plus 6x plus 9 equals 0, so we'll just factor out this one. This will give us x plus 3 times x plus 3 is equal to 0. And then, solving for the value of x, magkakaroon tayo ngayon dito ng x is equal to -3. So, since dalawang values ito at pareho naman itong x plus 3, so meaning to say, this is x is equal to -3 with multiplicity ng 2. Kasi dalawa yung factors na yan, but the same lang naman yung makukuha na value ng x. -3 pa rin naman. And then for our denominator, we have here x minus 5 and x minus 1. So for the first value of x, we have here x is equal to 5. And for the second value of x, we have x is equal to 1. So, ibig sabihin yan, yung mga critical values natin are -3, we have +1, and we have +5. So, ito yung gagamitin natin mamaya sa pagde-divide natin ng ating number line. Line natin, okay, we make use of those critical values para ma-separate natin yung ating number line. So, ito yung ating number line. At ito yung mga critical values na nakuha natin kanina. We have -3, we have +1, and we have +5. Now, since we have 3 critical values na nakuha, so, ibig sabihin nun, meron tayong 4 dito na intervals na titignan. So, dito sa part na ito, tingnan muna natin yung ating ginamit dito na inequality sign. This is greater than. So wala siyang kasamang or equal. So meaning to say, lahat ng mga critical values natin dito ay excluded yung mga values na yon. So gagamit tayo dito ng hollow circle sa lahat ng ating critical values. And then after that, we will now formulate our interval. So ang first natin na interval, that is x is less than -3. So lahat ng mga values na nasa left side ni -3. And then yung next naman natin na interval, we have here -3 is less than x is less than 1. So meaning to say, those values na nasa pagitan ni -3 and ni +1. Yung next naman natin, we have here from 1 to 5. So we have here x is between, x is greater than 1 but less than 5. And of course, ang last natin dito na interval is x is greater than 5. Now, same process na lang nung ginawa natin kanina. We select our test points. So ang test points natin dito, pwede tayong gumamit ng -4. We can also use 0, 4, and 6. And then, isa-substitute natin siya doon sa ating nakuha kanina na rational expression sa step number 1. So we'll obtain these results. So titingnan natin dito, dahil ang ating inequality ay greater than, so titingin tayo dito ng mga values that will give us a positive result. So ang positive lang dito, we have here yung una, yung pangalawa, at saka yung pangatlo. So ibig sabihin nito, itong mga test points na ito or yung mga intervals kung saan nanggaling yung mga test points na ito, ay yun yung magiging part ng ating solution set. So, since tatlo lang naman ito, hindi kasama yung x equals 4. So, ang magiging interval natin dito or ang magiging solution set natin dito will be, ayan. By the way, yung mga naka-blue na yun, yun yung ating solution set na part, yun kung saan nag-true yung ating statement. So, ang solution set natin dito, we have from -infinity to -3, from -3 to +1, and then from 5 to +infinity. Now, take note dito na lahat ng ginamit natin ay parenthesis na. Wala tayong ginamit dito na bracket kasi wala namang included dito na value sa ating given. So, para sa last part ng video lesson na ito, please try to answer this one. Find the solution set for the given inequality 3 over x minus 2 is less than or equal to 1 over x. So, pwede nyo munang i-pause saglit yung video para makapagsagot kayo. And then, if you are done answering, pwede nyo nang i-play para makita nyo yung solution at saka yung answer. So, you may start answering now. Okay, so, ito yung solution para dito sa item na ito. So, ang step 1 natin, kagaya ng ginawa natin kanina, we write our rational inequality in which yung ating left-hand side ay single rational expression, yung right-hand side naman natin ay 0. And then, we find the critical values. So we have here our numerator. So from our numerator, we have here x is equal to -1, and for our denominator, we have two values. We have 2 and 0. And then yung next natin na step, okay, so ito naman yung ating computation. And then ang magiging solution set natin dito, we have here -infinity to -1, in which yung 1 natin ay included. And then union 0 to +1.